no way. I'm already so still burning. So hold me close now, baby. I do what I'm told, still learning to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line, yeah. You got me shifting the paradigm, no longer wishing, you're my lucky strike. Love the way you ride, look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice, act like you're surprised, but you already know. Oh yeah, got lucky overnight. Jackpot when I got the invite. Let me wrap my arms around you, cause I can't go home without you. And my heart just vibe with you, babe. Wanna go sky high with you, babe. Gotta bring you close to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. Cooler than cold, I'm all in. So load up the dice, so heavy. The way that you roll, I'm falling. So I never fall, I'm ready to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line, yeah. You got me shit.
Oh, folks, you're always in for a treat when you hear that tune, because it's time for another week of the Rec Poker Podcast. But boy, are you in for a treat this week. You may not know why if you're listening at home, but if you're tuned in right now to our YouTube channel, you're watching it live for free. And I hope you're clicking subscribe down there, because that helps us out a lot. But you know already, we're talking to Daniel freaking Negreanu today. So we got a couple announcements to get to first. We've got some fun panelists here on the show that are going to ask some questions and get to know real kid poker and what makes them tick. But first, I just got to tell you, I've got the best job in the world. I'm the luckiest little bugger out there. My name's Jim Reid. I'm Bluffsterini in the home games and pretty much everywhere. And you can find out more about me by going to rec.poker/crew, where you can also learn about all the rest of the Wrecking Crew members here. We'll get to them in just a second. I got to thank our sponsors, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino, and of course, website AMP. And I got to thank our premium members, a couple of which are Jack and Jill Burke. And Jack and Jill have been fans and supporters for a long time. Jack and Jill went up the Rec Poker Hill. They found some knowledge. They've had a great time. And I just hope they never go rolling back down again, because we love having them in our corner. And Jill, I remember that conversation in Vegas. That one stuck with me. So thanks again for a great time there. Premium members here at Rec Poker get all sorts of perks. It's only $5 to join. You can play in a bracelet event for free. This year in the WSOP, we're going to do a draw on June 1st for who's going to be my partner. All you got to do is be a Rec Poker Premium member. There's going to be a new weekly sit and go starting on Tuesday nights, brought to you by Fun Country, where 9 premium members get to take on each other and win a cash prize, which is going to be a lot of fun. And Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino is having Rec Poker Weekend on June 24th and June 25th. Get yourself down to Minnesota and hang out with the Rec Poker crowd, win some fun prizes, and have a great time. Speaking about having a great time, we are so excited to have Dnegs himself here on the show today. It's not his first time. He had such a good time last time. He had to come back. So we're going to meet him. First, why don't the rest of the Wrecking Crew introduce yourselves and tell Rec Poker Nation where they can find you.
Well, I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5B5 on Twitter or 5x5 on the Poker Stars home game.
I'm Keith Brandt. I'm Monkey System everywhere. I'm Rob Washam, and I'm Rabman50 everywhere.
I'm Mark Prashant. I'm website Mark on rec.poker and website Amp in the home game.
Hey everybody, my name is Woody Adams. I play as Rocket Box on Poker Stars Pennsylvania, and you can find me on Twitter at Woody Adams.
All right, so many-time veteran, WSOP winner, WPT winner. He's in the Poker Hall of Fame, and he's back on the Rec Poker Podcast. Daniel, you've listened to me talk for the last few minutes. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to start hearing from you. Where are you calling from today? Where are you?
Well, so I'm at home. This is just the backdrop, but I'm really confused that you said this is free. People are not paying for it. Then how do you afford my $150,000 appearance fee? And by the way, I haven't gotten it yet.
Well, I could have sworn I
didn't get it. So I don't know. Like, if I don't get it in the next 6 minutes, we're going to have to cut this short.
Yeah, you're going to have to talk to Chris Jones about that. He handles all the business side of things here.
Chris Jones, yes. Where do you get the money to cover the 150? Because I don't do a podcast for free. Come on now.
It's working its way through the it's an intricate financial transaction. It's just working its way through.
Shouldn't be a problem. I've heard that before. Shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, we're shipping that over in Luna right now. I got a really good feeling about this one. Should be all set.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true though. I mean, how do we do all this great stuff for free? How do you make yourself so available to the poker community? Like, obviously, you're a huge hit. You're a famous player. You spend time talking to people and sharing your knowledge. Talk a little bit about just sort of like what's it like to be a poker celebrity?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a good question. Like, frankly, right now I'm doing a lot of twiddling my thumbs because the World Series of Poker is like 2 weeks away, and I cannot wait. I wish it was tomorrow. Having said that, a lot of different people have been reaching out to do podcasts and different things. So I have a schedule. I put it in my calendar, and I try not to overload myself. So, for example, I'm doing a poker lesson tomorrow, and then I'm doing another podcast, and I don't want to put them back to back to back because I find 40 minutes, an hour I can do. But, if you start to go back to back on the last question, you're like, yeah, I answered this before. I'm like, not to me, you're the podcast, right? So, I mean, listen, I do what I can. I don't find it's so easy, frankly, in the society we live in now where I can do it from the couch, right? Which is where I am actually right now. Rather than, if you guys said like, meet me in the studio somewhere.
Right.
Like, this is going to be a hard interview to get. To be honest.
I love it. Well, it's working out great so far. And if anyone is watching on YouTube and you want to have any questions for Daniel, just type it right into the chat there and I'll get to it. And ditto for the members here in our chat, just unmute and you can jump right in. One question that I have right off the top, Daniel, is you've been in the game a long time. I've watched you come up, being a Toronto guy, you've been on my radar obviously forever. Now, sort of looking at it, you got another WSOP coming. What do you get excited about? Like, what actually excites you about the game of poker these days when you've seen it all?
Yeah, so my poker schedule is very polar. It's very polar because, like, either I'm grinding my butt off or I'm not playing at all. There's a very discrepancy between the two. So what I look forward to most is, like, getting into the grind. Like, I love the grind. I like this is maybe sadistic a little bit, but I kind of like the idea of being exhausted and on fumes and like giving it everything I got day in and day out, dealing with the beats, dealing with the high stress situations, having people in, because, you walk into the World Series, everyone's happy on day one. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you, Bob. Hey, Jim, how's Chris? 2 weeks in, you're like, get the out of my face, and there's all the fights coming in about 4 weeks. But the greatest thing about the World Series of Poker is, halfway through, as I said, people are miserable, but the day that it's over is like the worst day of the year for a poker player because you can't wait to do it again. This year is different than most because we have a short turnaround. We just had one in the fall, so now it's back to its regularly slated time slot. So it was a short turnaround, and it's going to be a big one because it's different too. New venue for the first time in over a decade.
Yeah, and this is going to be a new one. I want to talk a bit about how you kind of prepare when you're down there and how you kind of conserve your own energy and your focus and that sort of thing. Folks that are listening along probably know you've had an RV in the past, like a trailer down there that's helped you take your breaks and compose yourself. That's not going to be available this year, parking or union rules or something like that. So what are you going to do differently, because it is all that different, for you to kind of stay on your best game?
Well, here's what I'm a big believer in, whether it's poker or whether it's life. I've learned that, like, in the past, before I really had to sink in, I would show up to Barcelona and I'm a vegan, and I'd be pissed off because there's nothing for me, right? I'm like, you know what? How about take it upon yourself, right? Instead of being a victim to circumstance, plan ahead, right? So obviously, as you mentioned, I went down there to see if there was a spot to park an RV. It's not feasible. So I've been working with them, and I found a green room that is within walking distance. So I basically said, here's what I need. I need a couch, I need a fridge, and I need a microwave, right? And some people might be like, well, why do I need that? And then you touched on breaks a little bit, and they're imperative for me. I'm actually a classic, what's called a talkative introvert, which means I charge my batteries when I'm alone, and I need that. When I'm with people, I expend energy and I drain myself. So on dinner breaks, I don't go to dinner with people. I haven't had a meal with a human being at the World Series of Poker in over a decade. I'm not even kidding. Like I need that time away. So as I said, to answer your question, I plan ahead, and I'm going to go down there this week and really just sort of get my bearings and think, all right, how am I going to do this? Because the breaks are sacred for me, right? I get people coming up often and saying, hey, can I get a picture? Can I chat? And if I did that on the breaks, I wouldn't have a break, right? Because it's only 15 minutes. So I always tell people, if you want to say hello, do so when I'm in between hands. Say, hey, Daniel, and I'll look over and I'll come by if I get a chance. But often people out of respect are like, I want to wait till your break. And I'm like, this is like, I get it and I appreciate it, but it's the worst possible time for me to talk to you. So if you are watching this and you want to come say hello at the World Series, please don't do it on a break. Wait for a hand to be folded and I'll talk to you.
So you actually prefer for folks to come up to the table, establish that you're not in a hand, and then make some eye contact or say hi that way instead.
Well, yeah. I mean, if those so my choices are one of two, right? I'm always playing or I'm on break. Okay. Yep. So I know that people, they're only going to get their moments. Someone drives from Ohio. They want to come and take a picture for their son, or they want to get a baseball hat signed, whatever the case may be. I'm happy to do it. And for me, functionally, I've found that the best time for me to do that is, poker, I'm playing 12, 14 hours a day.
Right.
Usually in the beginning, I know what's going on and I can zone out for 5-10 minutes and chat with people. Right. But, as I sort of established, those breaks for me specifically, and a couple other, maybe the high profile players, and that's partly why the RV thing became a thing in the first place. Phil Ivey was the first one to do it. And he's like, I just need a place to not be bothered. 10 minutes to, calm down. And I was like, man, this is a great idea. And I did it every year since. So having a green room, like a lot of people say, well, why don't you just get a room there? That would be great, except it's a 15-minute break and it's a 12-minute walk. So it doesn't really help, like, get a room for what? I'm not sleeping there,
Yeah, good point. Chris?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is kind of I just kind of want to jump in on this note. I mean, there was a little bit of like I forget how this even started. Somebody on Twitter, I think one person was complaining like that you didn't say hi to them or you didn't take a picture with them. And then all these people rushed to sort of defend and say, actually, Daniel is asked all the time to constantly asked to take pictures, take selfies, take all these kind of things. And he's one of the most generous people with his time during, these playing sessions and that kind of thing. And I'm wondering, how do you keep up with that? And how much does that tax you during a playing session to have all these requests and, people wanting the photo and wanting the autograph and wanting that moment that they drove from Ohio to see, their favorite famous poker player. But how do you stay true to that, but also find the time for yourself?
No, I totally get it. And I remember the tweet you're talking about. It was essentially, I was responding to some guy who says, hey, during the World Series, I hope to come meet you and maybe we can go have lunch, right? And of course, obviously, this is a stranger during the World Series. So I said, honest, just being fully transparent, I don't have meals with anybody during the World Series, not even my friends. So that's going to be a no. But, of course, I'll say hi. So somebody chimed in and was like, how that's a BS answer, Daniel. How do you not take time for your fans? I'm like, bro, if I had lunch with every person that came up, I would never get to play. But to actually answer your question, it goes back to the sacred poem, same thing that I talked about, which is my breaks. Let's say if I bust a tournament, I take a couple hours alone, I'll lay down on the couch, I'll screw around on the internet, and just not until I'm ready do I jump back into the next one. And then, like I said, I really make sure to make the most out of those 15 minutes every 2 hours so that, I can expend the energy necessary to both play at a high level and then, be friendly to people. Because here's what you don't realize. I think a lot of people don't, is that everyone has a bad day. Not everybody's happy all the time, right? However, when you're someone that's in the limelight, you don't really have that luxury in the same way. And I'll tell you why. You have a bad day. One person who I like, obviously we use the Ohio guy who drove up, and you don't handle that well, right? Where that one person's like, man, what an asshole he is, right? That's the narrative that they go to the internet with, and it blows up, and all of a sudden that's who you are, which is completely unfair, right? But it makes me mindful of the fact that, like, you know, in these moments, I always have to be on, because this might be this person's one and only opportunity to say hello. So whatever impression I make on that person, that's going to be the lasting one that they leave with. So I do my best to make sure it's like a positive one, you know, and give them the amount of time that I think I can, you know, and obviously that's not going to be a lunch with everybody who comes to Vegas. Come on.
Good answer. Woody's got a question here too. Go ahead, Woody.
Hey, Danielle, I'm Woody. I was just thinking about kind of your breaks and my breaks, and they're a lot different. Like when I'm on a break, I'm like calling my friend and saying like, okay, I had queens here, and this is this, and I'm like detailing a specific hand, and I might take 10 minutes to do that over a hand. I don't know if that's the best use of my time. Could you think about on those 15 minutes, like, do you have a pattern? Do you say like, okay, the first 90 seconds I'm going to do you have a pattern on like how you spend that micro amount of time?
I do. And it's partly like, so what you just described, you know, talking to your friend for 10 minutes, that's essentially what I do on my breaks, except I'm doing it into a phone and I'm doing it on my vlog, which is available daily on YouTube, right? So I essentially on breaks do like a little summary, you know, whether it's just like, oh, you know, last couple levels didn't get anything going, my chips went from this, or I'll go to the RV or my place and do like a hand breakdown for everyone, you know, to enjoy. And I think there's value in that. What you're doing, I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's actually valuable to allow yourself to sort of like check in and be like, all right, this hand just happened, right? If you have a friend that, you know, you respect, maybe he points something to you, like, oh, you know, you could have check raised there. Ooh, I didn't think of that. So there's value. So essentially what you're doing is, I think it's important though, like again, if your break is 15 minutes, I might cut that down to like 5 to 7, just so that you have some time for yourself to kind of like be away from it for a minute, right? Because the mind, here's the thing, the way that I grind, you know, I'm playing 6-7 weeks in a row, nonstop. The mind can't go at 100% 24/7. There's going to be moments you need to break, right? And just relax. Sometimes I do that in the early stages. I'll go on autopilot. I've been playing poker a long time. I might just be like, all right, I'll just ABC it for a minute, check out, because my brain needs that, right? And that way, you know, I can ramp up when we're down to 3 tables, 2 tables, and really get in there and go to war. But I don't think what you're doing is bad. I think, you know, decompressing is very, very helpful, especially at the end of your sessions too. Like I would almost like write those hands down on a notepad. And then at the end of the session, maybe talk to those friends or just go over those hands and really think about them more deeply. And you'll find that when you go to sleep, you wake up, you know, refreshed, like, because the mind is an interesting computer, if you will. There's like clear evidence that, you know, thinking of these things, studying these things, going to sleep, allowing your body to reset and your mind to reset. You wake up in the morning, and whatever concept that you wanted to drill home, that you want to learn from and not make the same mistake, that's going to sit with you a lot better, you know, at least by like having that decompress rather than just not even thinking about the hand anymore.
Nice. That's a great answer. We've got a couple questions coming up in the YouTube chat here. So Troy Chapman, who's calling in from Australia, says, listen out for the Aussie accents, Dnegs. And it wants to know, who wins the NHL this year? Bit of a tangent.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, I watch all the playoffs. It's good. It's a great year. There's a lot of like really good teams in the hunt. I don't know who's going to win, if I'm being honest. Like it could be, you know, there's several teams that absolutely could. There's a couple dark horses that I like. And I always like the dark horses. You can pick the easy ones, but that's no fun. Mm-hmm. St. Louis is my dark horse pick because they're built for the playoffs. So Blues fans, obviously, if you get by Colorado, that's a big test. You're not supposed to, but I would bet the plus 329 and take St. Louis, which I have.
There you go. I've got a question. When you were coming up in the game, obviously you were playing a lot, you were learning about poker. Cast your mind back to those days, Daniel. It wasn't that long ago. What were the techniques and strategies that you used to study or to learn the game or to get better at the game? What did you do to get better?
Yeah, well, some of the stuff that I already sort of touched on, which is I would write the hands down or make sure that I knew what I like the hand that I wanted to visit later. And typically back then, you know, you didn't have the resources that you have today. We had some, So I would talk to friends like Phil Ivey, John Juanda, Alan Cunningham, when we do dinners, and I'd ask them how they would play the hands. And then we would sort of brainstorm a little bit sometimes. And that's one way in which I would do that. In addition to that, there was very primitive like software like Mike Carroll's Poker Probe that, say, for example, in a stud 8 or better game, I could run simulations on, what hands would be what. It would take forever, but it's still worthwhile. But for the most part, for me, it came down to making mistakes, right? Here's the thing. Like if you're a poker player, you're going to make lots of mistakes. Now look at these mistakes. Instead of being upset with yourself, look at this and think, wow, this is awesome. This is an opportunity for a breakthrough. So I had this problem. I have no idea. I didn't know what to do. So let's break it down, because really a breakdown leads to a breakthrough, right? When you make these mistakes, it opens up here, I've said this before, but the truth is making the mistake is not the mistake. Learning nothing from that mistake is the real mistake, right? You have to dig deep. Every time you get busted from a tournament, sure, you could focus on the hand where you had your aces cracked. What value in there is that? How about let's look back and go, how did you get in that position in the first place, right? Was there any more pots you could have won? There was a raise and a call. Were they light? Could you have maybe squeezed there with your hand, picked up some extra chips? There's no point in spending a lot of time on guy raised with kings, I went all in with aces, and he called. What's the value there? It's just the value is in the intricate spots, the subtle ones, the trench wars, the little small things, small blind versus big blind. Could I bet the turn maybe? Little things. That's where you really start to fine tune your game. If you look at it like golf, for example, when someone takes up golf, the first goal is hit the damn ball, right? That's difficult, right? Second goal is like hit the ball in the air, right? Third goal is try to hit it where I'm aiming, right? And you go all the way up to the pros who continually miss shots, because what they're doing when they're 100 yards out, they are trying to sink that shot. They don't, but notice that their mistakes become fewer and fewer, and the mistakes they're looking to fix are smaller and smaller. So as you get better in poker, right, you start out making all kinds of dumb mistakes. You play 7-deuce offsuit because you don't know it's a bad hand. Then you're like, you learn, okay, don't play 7-deuce offsuit, right? Then you start to like fine tune things and get better and better, and that all comes from making mistakes.
And I think that mindset is fantastic, because I think people are they get embarrassed about making mistakes, or they feel ashamed because they didn't do something right. But it's the only way to learn. How else are you going to learn if it's not by doing something wrong and learning the lesson from it?
No, you're absolutely right. Like being critical of yourself is important, like being self-aware. But at the same time, you don't want to be hard on yourself, right? Now, if you made a mistake that is a mistake because you've already worked on it, and you've made this mistake before, you can sort of go, come on, Daniel, get it in gear. You're supposed to make this play here, and you didn't. And I do that still today, less than I used to. But again, looking at a situation later and go, there was a better play available. Okay, cool. It didn't come to me in the moment, but let's break it down so that next time I'm faced with this, I'm better prepared. Because that's how you get better. You see the same situations over and over and over and over to the point where it's like, automatically what to do here. You don't have to worry about, I don't know. What do I do? I got ace-9. Hey, help me.
Well, I know Chris has another question, but I can't turn down that segue. So now that you're in a whole different, realm of poker strategy than you were before, how do you now identify areas where you need to improve and then find ways to actually improve your game at this level?
Well, one of the things that I worked hard with when I was playing the Heads Up Challenge was I worked extensively with solvers, but that was for Heads Up Poker. So what I was able to do is I took what I learned from solvers and learning about game theory, and I combined that with my 20 plus years experience to sort of learn how to exploit people even better. So for me, my number one study tool for the most part is Poker Go. I highly recommend it if you're a serious poker player, studying what my opponents are doing. And what I'll do is I'll look for patterns, because everyone's afraid of this GTO term. Dun dun dun. Like, what if they play GTO? No human being. Okay, listen to me. No human being will ever play GTO. It is actually impossible. You can never do it. So everyone's going to have tendencies one way or the other. So I still look to see what some of the tendencies. I remember in one of the recent series, I'm like, I picked up about 4 or 5 specific things I noticed as a trend from the regs. I made notes of it. Okay. This is what I want to do in these spots. Okay. I made about 3-4 mistakes in the first week. All 4 mistakes that I made were not trusting the notes that I made. Like one of my notes says, if you see the situation, go all in. And I didn't do it. Was the right play, and it was always that, but that's okay. And I wasn't too hard on myself, because for the most part, I put that stuff into practice and it worked really, really well. I just didn't commit to it fully. But anytime you try something new on, you're a little hesitant, like a golf swing. We'll go back to golf. But like, so, you get a golf coach and they say, you got to completely change your swing. Well, you're hesitant. You're like, I don't know. Really? Okay. But it takes a while to really just wear it and be comfortable with it.
Yeah, we talk about golf as an analogy for poker all the time. And, the mistakes get smaller and less frequent. And it becomes a game of just making fewer mistakes than your opponents, and letting them make the mistakes. Chris, do you have something?
Well, this is a slightly changing subject, but it kind of has to do with GTO and solvers and that kind of thing. I think one of the hot topics in poker lately has been RTA and cheating allegations. And I don't want to bring any names into this, but just like what as a player in the high stakes community who's been involved in that all over the place, how do you feel about the game's integrity right now, and are there things that we can do to help solve that or create a healthier game?
Yeah, so we'd be fooling ourselves if we didn't admit that like poker has always had from its outset the element of people wanting to cheat, right? That's not new. That's been around hundreds of years, ever since the beginning, holding out cards, all this kind of stuff. What's changed is the sophistication of the cheats has elevated through technology and different things like that, specifically for online. So it becomes a cat and mouse game between the site and the cheats, right? And every time the cheats come up with something, the site has to be up to par. So I think you can look at this sort of scandal that was released. Really, the information was released in 2020 about a group of people being banned. Like, you can look at that two ways. You can look at it, one, oh my God, people are cheating, or two, you can go, they got caught, right? And that's a good thing. Right. So like them revealing that information to you lets you know that like they're on it, like they're searching it. Now, is that going to stop the next guy? You're going to curb cheating forever, the fact that they're on it? No, people are always going to try to circumvent the system when there's money on the line. So what we can do as a group, I think, going forward, and there's been talk of this, I think there's going to be a lot of bright side with this, is that, there are some people that were named that we know pretty much are cheats, right? And they're starting to get banned now from some live events. So if you look at a guy who, here's the problem with poker had. So this guy gets caught cheating over here in Atlanta. Okay. So then he just goes to Baltimore.
Right.
Plays there. Big deal, right? If you can start to slowly but surely limit the number of options they have, that starts to take a toll on these people and helps clean up the game. But it's always going to be an issue, right? Like, people are always going to try whatever they can. Not everyone's like, got a great moral standing in anything, right? Like, what industries are not people trying to cheat if there's money available?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Good point. I mean, human's going to human, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Mark, you had a WSOP question for Daniel, didn't you?
Yeah, kind of a two-parter, I guess. You play a huge schedule of events. So the first part would be, which event are you most looking forward to? And then kind of on the other side of a coin, what type of event would you recommend for rec players?
Okay, great. So first of all, for me, I'm a mixed game guy. I love mixed games. And my favorite event, I've wanted to win this damn thing, I have not yet, but I will, is the Poker Players Championship, which is a 8-game, now I think it's 9-game mix. And it's got a very slow structure. The blinds go up like every 2 hours. You get a lot of chips. It's like a 5-day event. And I get emotionally invested in that, okay? When I play poker, normally I'm even keel. In that one, I lose one hand and I go Phil Hellmuth. I'm like, oh, I don't say things to people and whatnot. But, but I would suggest for recreational players, here's the thing. If there's one event that you want to target, the World Series of Poker, and give yourself sort of like the best chance to like potentially have a life-changing experience, go for the Mystery Bounty Tournament, okay? Because a Mystery Bounty Tournament, like, these have really caught on. And strategically, there's things you should do a little differently. Like, you should try to hit, bust people a little more. But like, you could just knock somebody out and then boom, you've won $250,000. So I think from a fun perspective, from also level the playing field perspective, right? Like, obviously, if you were playing in a tournament with a bunch of pros, a Mystery Bounty Tournament increases your chances of, winning overall. So I would highly recommend those. They're fun, like I said, they're better value, I think, for a recreational player for sure.
Nice. And I think there is a lot of buzz about that. It has been an exciting feature. And I think it is better for amateur players because you kind of you're not giving up a skill edge when it comes to choosing a bounty envelope out of the cage, right? So
Yeah, anytime. So that's the thing. Like when it comes to games, if the skill edge is too big, it destroys the game. Like chess is a good example, right? If you and I played chess, I don't know if you're good or not. If you're better than me, you just win every time. That's not that fun for me, right? Whereas like, with poker, obviously, luck plays a role. And when you can increase luck and you can, sort of level the playing field in that regard, it makes it for a more fun and engaging experience for all. It's good for pros because more recreationals will play, but it's also better for recreationals because they're going to win more often.
I got a couple questions coming in from YouTube here. I got a great one from Kim, though. What do you feel about late registration versus playing from the start? I guess, especially when it comes to some of these bigger live tournaments. You're kind of trading the experience of day one, let's say, with the just guaranteed chip stack on day two. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so for me, I'll tell you the way that I approach it. For the big events, I always try to show up right on time if possible. Unless I'm in another event, then I have no choice. And I always make sure that, in between events, I need an hour or two to reset. So I'll late reg a little bit. Having said that, late reg benefits some people more than others, right? So as a recreational player, late regging actually increases your ROI. If you max late reg, for example, and jump in on a day two, versus sitting from day one with a bunch of pros who each pick you apart, which means you're probably unlikely to make day two all that often. And when you do, you probably won't even have more chips than you start. So oddly enough, max late reg or, extended late reg benefits recreational players more. Having said that, though, from the experience perspective, like I think recreational players, for the most part, they kind of want to play, right? You don't just want to show up with like 10 big blinds and be like, I'm all in. Like you want to play from the early set. But I will say this, like a lot of people are concerned. They're like, oh, these top pros late regging, it's not fair. That's better for you. Way better for you. Because here's what happens. Sure, they get to skip the early levels, but like on average, say for example, me, if I jump in on day two, I'll have, let's say whatever, the 10 big blinds. On average, if I sign up on time, I'm going to have way more than 10 big blinds. I'm going to have way more. So overall, your EV goes down when I show up on time. You do better if every pro just jumped in on day two and had 10 bigs. Sure, some of these pros are going to double up and they're going to win or whatever, but overall, their ROI shrinks. Whereas the rec, so it's as simple as like, it's just an EV calculation, right? If you're a losing player at the table, right? From the first hand dealt, okay? By day two, you're likely to, be losing. Whereas if you just jump in on day two, you're likely to have more chips on average than you would have if you sat down early. But again, I think the bigger picture thing here is most recreationals that I talk to, or maybe you guys can disagree with me, they're there for the experience. They want it to be fun, and you get more play in the early levels, and that's definitely a better experience.
That makes a lot of sense. Going back to YouTube here, Troy says, in response to your earlier point, is that why a lot of pros seem to be moving into mixed games so that they can maintain a larger skill edge as more of us kind of get no limit hold'em a little more figured out? Do you think that's true?
I don't think that's directly the reason. I think generally speaking, like when people play one game and like they see other games available, they're like, it's fun and it's interesting to learn new games. For most no limit hold'em players, the first game they learn is Pot Limit Omaha. It's a big format or whatever. But a lot of them, and then the other reasoning too, I think, is when you see like high stakes games during the World Series at Bobby's Room or whatever, you're not going to, you're going to get a lot of these big mixed games with some weaker players. And if you don't know how to play them, well, you can't play. So I think for the most part, it's fun to learn mixed games. And I'm glad to see it. I'm happy to see it. But
yeah, we're doing a big emphasis on mixed games this year with a new mixed game theme every month, and members can come and learn how to play various nights throughout the week because it is more fun. And I think there's a future of poker there in a way that maybe won't be for the same way for No Limit Hold'em, or at least for No Limit Hold'em online. Okay, so another one from Troy here, and this is a question that maybe I'll put two questions into one, Daniel. Do you have any suggestions for how to manage large field MTTs where minefields are everywhere? This is from Troy. And I guess the other half of that question would be, what are some common mistakes that recreational players make in these kind of circumstances that maybe if we can just stop ourselves from making a few of these mistakes, maybe we can get a little further?
Well, that's great. I'm glad that you coupled those two questions together because the answer I have encompasses both of those things. The first question I would have for you, and I want you to actually think about this, okay? When you play in these tournaments, I want you to genuinely think like, what is your goal in this term? Like, what do you want from this experience, right? Like, what are you going in your mindset? Do you really want to win? Do you just want to cash, or do you want to just last like a long time? Because depending on what you want to get out of this experience, that should heavily influence how you choose to play, right? So if you're playing to win this tournament, who cares if you're all in on the first hand? Boom. So what? You're trying to win, and you have ace king. They have 2 6s. Let's go. Let's gamble, right? So on that note, I would say the biggest mistake that I see a lot of like recreational players make is around that area near the money bubble, where they just knit it up too much and they don't understand the dynamic enough, especially if they have a medium-sized stack, right? Like, or better. If you have a big stack, you can be the bully. And also just, overly just getting kind of run over because you're just trying to make the money, right? Now, if you take the Alan Kessler approach, which is try to min cash in tournaments long-term, it's not a winning proposition. It just isn't. Like, sure, you're going to make the money more often by playing that way, but when you do, you're going to sit there with like 7 big blinds, and you're really going to like hamper your opportunity to actually win. So I would say that overall, the biggest mistake amateurs make is not going forward enough, not being aggressive enough, not running huge bluffs enough. Okay. Because most amateur players don't do that. Most rec players don't bet flop, bet turn, all in on river with air against like a pro. They get scared. Oh, I check. And pros know this. So what pros do is they overfold, right? So against an amateur, they'll be like, all right, if you were a pro, I might call you here because you could be bluffing, but listen, I know Jim's not bluffing in this spot. He doesn't have He doesn't have the guts. He doesn't have the guts to risk his tournament life. So being that kind of player also just makes you way tougher to play against. And you notice that these types of players, sure, sometimes they run out of chips really quickly. Like Vanessa Selbst's a perfect example. Vanessa Selbst, you used to see her, she'd be out first 5 minutes, whatever. But when she made it, boom. You couldn't see her face because she's hiding behind a big wall of chips.
Well, I'll take a little segue there too. So you're in the World Series of Poker main event, and someone sits down at your table with a recreational poker badge on. How are you going to take advantage of them, and what should they be doing to sort of differently to, play defense and get the most out of the table strategically?
I'm going to be way more aggressive and exploit, like when they're in the big blind, because I find Rex generally overfold in the big blind. Overall, I'm going to look for excuses to play pots against you, especially if I have position. And then I'm going to try to exploit you post-flop, which is what I've been doing for a very, very long time against the specific player, in that when they're playing to ABC, it just makes it easy on me. Okay, that rocks. Right?
I love that.
So essentially, more check rate. If you're a rec player, the best way to exploit me, more check raising, more 3-betting, pre-flop, more like large sizing on turns and stuff like that to really push the envelope. Check, like I said, check raising. That's going to be really, really tough to play against when a rec does that. Typically, what you see a rec do is they play their hand pretty straightforward. If they have something on the turn, they bet, and if they don't, they check. Get away from that. Also, set some traps. Okay, so instead of just always betting the turn or raising the turn when you have it, check. Slow play those spots, because what that does is it looks like bait. And often a pro like myself will be like, all right, well, if Jim had a really good hand here, he's always betting the turn. So I know he can't have any of these nutted hands because Jim would always bet those hands, right? And it's probably true in a lot of cases. So when you don't, when you don't bet, I know you can't have any of that stuff, which allows me to steal a bunch of pots from you. That's where solvers and that sort of thing really comes into play in terms of learning how to balance your ranges and spots. Pros will really they'll look at your range like as you've seen in the diagram and a chart. And when you make specific plays, they eliminate certain holdings from your hand, from your possibilities, right? Making sure that you have a wide range of hands and spots makes you way more difficult to play against. Like one of the things I do, it worked on high stakes poker, one of these last episodes, is check the turn with a hand that you're probably supposed to bet almost always. And my opponent knows that. So he knows that when I check, I don't have that. So he went all in on the river, and I was able to snap call because he didn't believe that I could have a strong enough range to call.
Nice. And definitely, pros and experienced players, one thing they're so much better at is identifying weakness. When you create when you reveal the weakness of your hand, that's kind of inviting some abuse by some of those more experienced players. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Great answer. I've got a couple more questions here. So if anyone else has any other, get them in quick, and then we'll send Daniel back out into the world. One from Joe here in the chat says, Mr. Negreanu, what advice would you have for people suffering from Tourette's to deal with their symptoms when they can't control them, particularly in games when they're being watched intently?
Well, that's an interesting question for somebody who actually has Tourette's. I've had Tourette's since I was about 5 or 6 years old. It's been relatively mild. It was much more of a problem when I was younger. And as I got older, it became less of a problem. And what's interesting is just you bringing up Tourette's makes me think about my own right now. So it's like a trigger, frankly, like a little bit. So when I see somebody else with Tourette's, when I see somebody else with it, it triggers mine. So I try not to look at them. I mean, it's
Right.
really brutal to have to do that. But I don't have like, unfortunately, like an easy answer other than, what worked for me, which is like really just trying to avoid the subject as much as possible and not be thinking about it all the time. Because like I said, anytime someone brings it up, like I'm already thinking about blinking my eyes, twitching my arms and all those things. And I'm holding myself back from doing it right now. Right. So it's not an easy thing. As far as how that affects you at the poker table, I wouldn't worry about it too much because unless your Tourette's is specifically triggered when you're bluffing, it's not going to be, it could actually just throw people off. Like I've done that before. I'm blinking profusely and people are like, oh man, you must be bluffing. I'm like, no, I'm just having a Tourette's right now.
Well, I really appreciate that. And I know Joe also appreciates that. That's a great thing for him to be able to ask you about. I've got just a question. So like I said, I grew up in Toronto. You've been this Canadian poker celebrity for a long time. You started as Kid Poker. I'm sure it feels like a long time ago. And now you're Dnegs. And talk to me a little bit about sort of how is Dnegs different from Kid Poker? Does it feel different? Do you feel different? What do those two characters have in common and what makes them distinct?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. They're both me, right?
Yeah.
Both me. But like for sure, I would say that, like Kid Poker was probably a lot more controversial and, aggressive and, making a big deal out of things that I wouldn't now. Just that's something that comes with wisdom and age. And I think now I would say this. I would say, like, generally speaking, when you're in your 20s, people may say, I don't care what anybody thinks about you. They're lying. Like if you're in your 20s, you care what others think. Okay. In your 30s, you still care, but you care a little bit less. I found that in my 40s, I hope that I'm allowed to say this, but I actually give zero fucks at this point. Okay? Like I just don't give a shit. If you don't like me, great. That's fine. You do you. I'm going to live my life authentically. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to do the things that I enjoy with coming to the realization that whatever feels like a big deal right now will pass. It's not that the poker drama, dun, 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 that you get sucked into and stuff like that. I've learned to just laugh at it, not let it affect me so much, and just have the wisdom and peace of mind to know that listen, I got the dream life. I got my wife that I've always wanted. I have the beautiful puppies. I got the house I wanted. I've got, I won the game. So there's no point like, getting involved in like all the small stuff.
That's so true, man. And I think, giving fewer F's is kind of one of the things that we should all be doing, honestly, in today's world. I always try and think about like a year from now, when I look back on this week, is this going to be one of the things that actually bothers me or that seems like a big deal then? Because if it's not, how important can it really be today?
Right. And sorry to touch on that real quickly, because it's interesting. Because like, as we get older, like what bothers us changes too, right? Like what you think as a teenager is the end of the world because, Johnny and Bill called you fat and they didn't like your outfit. Like that is their world right then. But that's as big as it gets. So for them, it is as big as like losing your house and your job in a fire when you're in your 40s, right? Like when you're a child, when you're a baby and someone steals your toy car, that's like the end of the world for you. That's your world. But as you get older, you start to like you said, you learn that like, you know what, that stuff really wasn't all that important. But in the moment, again, obviously, it's all that matters to you.
Yeah. All right, we got one from Keith and one from Woody, and then we're going to be coming right up on the time that you gave us today. So I really appreciate that, Daniel. Keith, jump in.
Yeah, Daniel, what kind of advice do you have for someone who is working full time right now, but is planning on having more time for poker? They're going to retire or whatever in the next couple of years. How would you say that someone like that should prepare?
Prepare for what?
For playing poker full time or all the time. Whereas right now they're working full time.
Okay, so you're saying then, you're planning on not work. You're going to be continuing to work full time, or you said more time is going to be opening up for you?
In a couple of years, I'm going to retire. But whether it's somebody who's going to retire or somebody who's considering going pro, but they're working right now, what kind of advice would you have for someone like that to prepare themselves?
Okay, so first and foremost, yeah, I would say that really important to like take it slow. Like even if just because you can afford, for example, playing in a $25,000 buy-in tournament, doesn't mean that's where your starting point should be, right? Just like a video game. You don't start at level 7, you start at level 1. And then you beat level 1 and you go to level 2. So start by playing in the smaller limit games where you're going to be at much closer to your talent, your skill level, right? And as you start to progress in that, then you can start considering maybe moving up. And in addition to that, I really believe heavily in like having sort of a group or a study group or people that you trust that you can bounce ideas off, whether that's a coach or whether that's like a study group. I think that's very beneficial. And within that, you guys decide, which ways in which you learn best, right? Solvers and all that sort of stuff, that's at the very, very high end. It's not necessary at the intermediate level. Still can be helpful in learning how, different ways to think about poker, but it also, I'm going to warn you, it can be very intimidating. I remember when I first started with this, I'm like, what the hell? I've been playing poker 25 years. I don't even get it. And I'm like, well, that's not good. If I don't get it, how the hell is the average person going to get it? But, I gave it a little time and it started to download in my mind, but take it slow, start small, and then also be very vigilant with your record keeping so that you can actually see your progress. So that way you're not guessing on how you think you're doing and you can actually say, no, this is the reality of the situation.
Nice. Woody had one question. Do you have a few specific routines in your life that have helped you the most?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, for me, I'm pretty regimented with my time. I wake up at the same time. I go to bed at the same time, and I do the same things almost every day. And the first one is just first thing in the morning, I drink a lot of water. Okay. Mm-hmm. I drink like a big one of these guys of water first thing in the morning. And then I just do literally 5 minutes. I hang from I hang from a bar. I do 6 pull-ups or 10 pull-ups or whatever. I'll do some push-ups. I'll do some pull-ups. Some crunches, and then I do a back extension exercise just to wake up. And I make that a pattern. And, it's something that I do every single day. I also obviously try to eat eat really clean and eat well for the most part, and exercise and sort of have a plan. I like to think ahead in terms of regimenting my days and my structure and having a goal way out there that I'm actually working towards. And I enjoy the process. I enjoy doing that. So for me, health and fitness plays a role, and it starts from wake up, through the end of the day. And I try to I weigh myself every day. Right now I'm counting calories. During the World Series, I let it all fly, baby. I went to the Whole Foods. You know what? I let it all fly. I'm going to come in shape, 155 pounds, svelte, lean. But I spent $300 at Whole Foods. I bought chocolate, popcorn, chips, candy, nothing that you would think of as nutritious. Cause I know that, during the World Series, I'm just going to do whatever I feel like I need to in the moment.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, I love hearing you talk about how valuable it is to have a community of folks to learn with and to share questions with and to learn from each other's perspective. Obviously, that's what we do here all the time. Every night we've got a different kind of conversation or ways for people to engage. And so if people are hearing Daniel talk about this, don't just take it from me, folks. This is an important way to learn and get better as a player. So come and join up for free. Speaking about community, so Daniel, you've got a charity thing coming up this weekend. I know you're involved in a few wonderful exploits on that front, like St. Jude's is a great cause. Why don't you tell some folks just a little bit about how they can support that and other ways that they can reach out to you or anything that you're working on right now that you're really interested in sharing with the world?
Yeah, no, St. Jude is something that I created, I don't know, 5, 6, I can't remember how many years ago, but we created this idea from nothing, just from scratch, where I wanted to create a celebrity poker tournament for, to benefit St. Jude, because they didn't have anything like that. So we really started from scratch. I was co-chair with another woman named Tanya. We connected with the St. Jude's chapter and we started to just build it from scratch and be like, all right, we got to find a venue. We got to find prizes. We got to find all this stuff. And so we had to sort of BS our way through that a little bit, because people always want to know, all right, well, what's your venue? I'm like, oh yeah, we got this. We didn't really have it, but we pretended we did. We got these prizes. We got this donated. We didn't really have it yet, but you got to schmooze. You got to do the stuff. So now it's grown, and obviously Matt Stout of Charity Series of Poker has taken over, running it, which is great because I'm just glad to see it being done. And obviously you can support it by attending, and I believe there will be an auction. There'll be a live auction, and there will be silent auction items, which I believe will be available online as well. So there's always those ways that you can support it. But yeah, no, it's a great event, and I'm really proud of poker as a game in that it has become the number one way to raise money for charities as far as events go. It used to be golf, but again, we talked about this. Random people can't just hit a golf ball. Poker, anybody can take their chips and just say all in. So it works.
Nice. Well, one of our members, Joe, in the chat here is involved in charity poker tournaments quite a bit. And we do talk about that from time to time, how that's kind of like becoming the new way to do it. So all the better for us, I think. That's fantastic. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for sharing this time with us today. I know it's been a hit for our members. We got some great comments on YouTube here from Troy, Martha, Jim, Joe, a whole crowd saying thank you for coming and sharing this time with us. One more time, where can people find you? Where would you prefer that people reach out? Is it on Twitter or the vlog? What's the best way for folks to make a connection?
Well, so where I'm most active is Twitter. I mean, I do have Instagram and all that stuff, but I'm Real Kid Poker on Twitter. And I think, the best way to just sort of live vicariously through me is via my YouTube channel, where I do a lot of hand breakdown videos. And during the World Series, we will be doing daily vlogs, which will be in your inbox probably around 10 a.m. Pacific every day. In addition to that, you'll have a chance at pocket5s.com to buy little pieces of me. I'm just going to offer a little sweat. I already did for the overall package, so there's nothing available there. But when I play these big events, you'll have your opportunity to put up $20 or $50, and you can sweat along with me, and then you get to watch the vlog the next day if you can avoid spoilers and find out how your money went.
I love it. The micro sweat. I'm so down for that. That's a fantastic way to do it. Well, Daniel, thank you again. We're going to head on over to our community corner and talk about who won the latest home games and some upcoming events. But I'm just so pleased to have had this chance to talk to you. And I hope we get a chance to hook up when we're both down in Vegas. I'll make sure to do it at your table while you're not in the hand. I promise.
Much appreciated. Thanks for listening, Jim. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your night, and all the best to you, man. I can't wait for next time.
All right, man. Take care, everybody. Good luck.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot, Daniel.
All right. Well, we're one John Somsky short today, but that doesn't mean that we can't just roll right into the home game results anyway. So taking it from the top on, let me see, do we have 2 weeks to go through this one? I think we do. Uncle Tom's Cabin, that's Jeff S. Mike Buccello, Lefty 19, Roger Shooty, Graphics 16. Roger doesn't get enough of a shout out on the show. He does so much here, helping us with our podcast, post-production, and that sort of thing. And he's just a super fun guy, and he supports great causes. So Roger, way to go. Also, Roger, I'm sorry I took you out of the home game last week, but I got a full house with pocket fives. I did it for Chris. There was nothing. My hands were tied. I almost typed for Chris into the chat when I did it, but what can you do? Jim Gibson. They let Jim Gibson back into the home game. Oh boy, there goes the neighborhood. Okay, well, congratulations, Jim. I hope we get a chance to play a little something in June coming up. Poker Cat, Naomi Pazul. Way to go, Naomi. Congratulations on your daily win. And then Roger Shooty comes back to win the mixed game event on May 7th. So congratulations, Roger. Wow. Denise Allen, Denise Aces, won the International Series. William Zasik came in. Mr. Z won the afternoon series. And then Hazy 08 came through with the Sunday night nightly home game, which is the LPP home game. So Hazy, send me an email, jim@rec.poker, because you, my friend, just won a free month at Learn Pro Poker, and you're going to enjoy that. So don't be shy. Send that email. The following week, just this last week coming up, Randy Smith, Roadstar 33, won the Daily Series Tournament of Champions and is the proud owner of a brand new silver pin. Now, we play the Tournament of Champions every month, and the final table is recorded by our I was going to make a joke about us having an actual producer who does that kind of thing, but it's just me. I just record the final table. And then on the fourth Wednesday of the month at 6:30 Central, everyone who makes the final table of the Tournament of Champions, congratulations, you've all won a free month at rec.poker. So you're going to hear about it from me because you're invited to the online review and hang. Every month we take the final table of the Tournament of Champions, we record it, and then we watch back the action with all the finalists who were there, plus anyone else from the panel or from our premium membership that wants to come and join. We talk through the action hand by hand, street by street. So if you're on that table, it's a great chance to get some analysis from the Wrecking Crew and some other premium members about how you're playing. So again, I'll DM everyone who in the site who made the final table and make sure you've got a code so you can get a free month of Rec Poker. I hope you come and join us on the last Wednesday of the month at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. That'll be a lot of fun. But that was just the Tournament of Champions. On May 9th, Elvis76, Steve Krups won the daily. Joshua Campbell, Torinar, fantastic guy. We had some fun in the OPA last week. I guess that's the night that he came through on that one. Well done, Josh. Chris Carignan, that's a tough one. CPCE1 won the daily. Diggin' Graves, Chris Simoneau is back in the winner's circle. And Jeff Sedum, Jay Sedum ends up back in here again, along with my buddy B-Chip, Charles Allen. Another Canuckian who's bringing the pain. Actually, is that true? I'm not sure if that's 100% true. Maybe that's not true. All right, Charles, I didn't mean to denigrate you if that's the case. But congratulations on the win. And then I am so pleased to see this. On back-to-back International Series events, Doug Drabeck, Magra 44 himself, wins the morning and the afternoon tournament. And I saw him at Canterbury too. He had some win or some good finish recently as well. So no surprise there. Magra's on a roll. And it's Steve's old boss, fun guy. Yeah. May 15th, Mark Bloomberg, Bloop 7, you won the Learn Pro Poker Sunday event. And as John Somsky likes to say, that means you got to email Jim at rec.poker to claim your prize. A free month at Learn Pro Poker? What? You get to hang out with Ryan LaPlante and KL Cleaton and all those geniuses over there, get some personal coaching, watch a ton of videos just in time for the WSOP. Holy cow. How do we do it, folks? How do we do it? It's amazing. We did tease at the top of the show. Those are just some of the perks of being a premium member. So if you're a member on June 1st, that's all you got to do. Because on Thursday, June 2nd, on the Twitch stream that Taylor does every Thursday, we are going to, Mark Prashan, website Mark, who's here right now, is going to hook us up with a little random number generator. We're going to put all the premium members into the database, and we're going to pull a few names and alternates so that we know who's going to be my partner for tag team event number 55, Chris, for the WSOP coming up. So someone's going to win a bracelet with me. At least we're going to try. We're going to get in. Someone's got to win it. They're not going to end the tournament until someone wins. So, someone's got to win it. Maybe it's us. That's one of the perks. And we also mentioned Fun Country is a great platform where you can play with your friends. We're going to be doing some ongoing promotions with them starting on May 31st. So on Tuesday, May 31st, the first 9 premium members that sign up are going to be able to play a 9-player sit and go with video and audio. It's going to be a fun time. We'll record it and we'll have a good conversation while we're playing. And I don't want to, I'll just say right now, we think the prize is going to be a $50 Amazon gift card. And again, it's free to enter. So just one of the perks of being a premium Rec Poker member, you've got a 1 in 9 shot of winning a $50 Amazon gift card every week. Just come on out on Tuesday nights and play that. We'll see some more details about that on the website as we get a little closer, but mark that date off. And then, of course, I am super excited about heading down to Minnesota myself. I'm going to get there on Friday. On Friday, June 24th, there is a morning tournament at Running Aces. I think it starts at 10, but we'll get all the details as we get a little closer. That's going to be a lot of fun. A bunch of Rec Poker folks are going to be there. We're going to all hang out after lunch, get something to eat at Running Aces. We'll have a hangout. I am going to hug a lot of people that day. I'll tell you that for sure. I am so excited for this. And then there is, I think it's a 6 p.m. start on Friday the 24th. A tournament at Running Aces exclusively for Rec Poker members. So if you're a premium member, you'll get first dibs on a seat. If you're an existing community member, you'll be next in line after that. But don't worry, folks. If you're not already a Rec Poker member, you can show up that day, sign up for a free community account. All it takes is an email address and a smile, and take your seat. And there's going to be some fun prizes for that as well. And of course, it's a real tournament, so you can win the money that you would normally win for that. And then on Saturday, we're doing another tournament, a special Saturday morning tournament. I think it'll start at 9:30. We'll get the details down for that. Anyone can play in that, but it's just going to be full of Rec Poker people. We'll probably give out some patches, maybe some other prizes and stuff like that there. That's Saturday the 25th. And then it's going to be a quick turnaround for me and my partner, because on Sunday, the 26th, it's day 1 of the tag team event down in sunny Las Vegas. So circle that Friday, Saturday, Sunday weekend in June. That's 24 through 26, because it's Rec Poker weekend at Running Aces. And we are going to have a lot of fun down there. Okay. Well, that was a lot of talking by me. Who else has some interesting insights or ideas or thoughts to share? I know at the very least, I have to, we got a shout out to Steve. Yes, of course. And Emmanuel Dukes is joining us here in the YouTube chat, says, I'll be there at Aces. Right on, Emmanuel. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll get we'll get a good turnout, and I can shake some hands, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't met a lot of these people, as crazy as that seems. We've been having these weekly poker chats for like 3 years now, but it's going to be a great time. All right. Well, I gave everyone plenty of opportunities to say what's up. That being said, I got to thank Website AMP, our man, Mark Prashon here. Yes, sir. And of course, running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. Daniel freaking Negreanu. How about that? Thanks for everyone who's watching on YouTube. Joe, Troy, Martha, Jim, Emmanuel. Yeah, you do it, Jim. I'm looking forward to that, buddy. All right. And the listeners, of course. Thank you so much.